Rich, what does your data show on the youth vote? The media is very interested on youth vote trends
I'm
right
getting blown up by every reporter on planet Earth right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, about the youth vote,
Yep.
Donald Trump did much, much better with younger voters. I mean, if you look at some of these keys, the 18 to 29 group was only about 7% of the electorate. If you look at the NBC News exit polls, it's a little bit different than the AP vote cast. When the voter validated surveys are done, we'll find out, guys. But the bottom line is here, Trump did considerably better with younger voters. And our polling showed that. Our polling showed that if you had a large enough sample size and you broke down 18 to 24 versus 25 to 29, you could see somewhat of a difference in their response. But overall, she was underperforming 18 to 29. And if you believe the exit polls, she only beat Trump by about 8 points with the 25 to 29, which was his more vulnerable one. In the end, she says that she beat him by 10 with the 18 to 24. However, again, that's not the case in different states. In some of these battleground states, Trump absolutely overperformed. And, I mean, she beat him. Yeah. And this one, too, is only about 11 points altogether combined. That's nothing. Yeah. The senior vote was what got all of this attention, right? Going into this election, it's getting more Democratic. Trump is slipping with the senior vote. Polls have a problem where they're not separating out super seniors from regular seniors that are 65 to 74.
Well,
that
yeah,
65
boomers
to 74 is getting more Democratic. It is. But
yeah, but that's because it's boomers. That's like it's boomers, like hippie generation are now like seniors, which I think people are having trouble wrapping their brain around that. That's like, I mean, that's a Woodstock, like, you know what I mean? It's like 1969 Summer of Love, and now they just happen to be, seniors. But we think of them like, they were about 10 years ago. So that's a really important insight, Rich.
And that's exactly right. And if the poll does not make sure that super seniors, who are more difficult to get and stay on that call when you're giving an interview, if you're not careful and your 75 plus is not an accurate representation of the overall 65 plus group, you're going to have too many of those boomers. And your senior sample is going to be too Democratic. It happened across tons of polls. Michael McDonald, Mr. Professor from my alma mater in UF, he blocked me this year because I pointed out that he has done this now for 2 consecutive election cycles. Put out polls on the web, on his social media, acting as if Democrats were going to run away with the senior vote. And it's a response bias. It's a miss with the 75 plus. By the way, go ask Ann Seltzer how that worked out for her in Iowa. 18 to 29.
Feel free, Rich. Feel free to pause there.
Please dunk on that, Rich. Please.
Yeah, listen. My days of giving Ann the benefit of the doubt are over.
She should retire.
And yeah, look, I've talked.
You were early on that.
This.
You were early on dunking on Ann.
I talked to you guys about some of this stuff privately, right? And we had some conversations on the show as well about it. This is not her first red flag. All right. Going back to 2020, she spiked that poll before the Democratic caucus because Biden was in 4th place. And then they fabricated, using Buttigieg as the foil, they fabricated some ridiculous excuse as to why they were why they were spiking the poll, because one interviewer may or may not have zoomed in her screen so much that Pete Buttigieg was cut off. That was a lie. That was an excuse. Our source told us that was an excuse. They gave us the poll. Mike Cernovich, separately from another source, got it as well. And he knows that they tanked that because the Biden campaign laid on CNN, and CNN laid on the Des Moines Register, and they in turn laid on Ann, and she caved. And she caved because she's a liberal, all right? And then I'm being told, fast forward to 2020, by the way, she was doing headline polling. It's tight with Biden in Iowa. It was never tight. We pulled Iowa off the table in September because the Public Polling Project has to make decisions based on what is and what isn't, justifiable to poll. And that was Trump +8 in September. It was never tied, and he won the state, and he won it comfortably. Now we fast forward to this. She's holding on to a poll that came on your show, Charlie, and I told you this. Or I told Andrew, I think. He was guest hosting that day. She held a poll that showed that Trump was up nearly 20 points on Joe Biden, and she didn't release it, almost as if she knew that Democrats were going to replace Joe Biden with Harris, because she only released it a month later when they repolled Harris separately and then could use it as a narrative. And in the story it said, and by the way, the Des Moines Register poll actually polled last month in something we didn't show you, and it shows that Harris was much stronger than Joe Biden. That's narrative polling. All right. And then now we get this. The reason I knew, and Charlie, you can confirm this, I told you about it. I texted you it. The reason I knew about the Des Moines Register polls results
I know, this is
2
crazy.
days before they were released is because
your
the
sources are great.
The source told me that Ann was cackling up a storm on the phone with Harris surrogates saying, I'm going to drop a bomb in this son of a bitch's lap. All right. So this is not appropriate behavior for a credible pollster. This is the behavior of a political activist, a partisan. And I'm done with this idea that Ann Seltzer's above reproach. I'm done with this idea that she's a respected pollster. She doesn't wear a chastity belt. All right, she's been doing this stuff for years. It's over. Look at how big this miss is. That isn't a miss that can be explained away even by response bias, guys. This is like, and this is what the source told me. After January 6th, something broke in Ann's brain. And she's been seeing what she wants to see in the data, and it's getting worse. And they can't raise any questions about their concerns about her ability to remain objective because her reputation is so bulletproof to be fired.